For hundreds of years, people have gathered in the fall for festivities and fairs. It's a time to celebrate the harvest. Fairs also offer the chance to compete in games and for prizes and ribbons for the best livestock, crafts, cake, pie, or jam. Most of these events are county fairs, but in 1849, Michigan created a new type of fair, the State Fair. ONR's Cathy Tatom discovered Oklahoma is one of many states where just one fair is not enough.
If you wonder why Oklahoma has two state fairs with colorful midways, crowded exhibition halls, and livestock shows, you're not alone. We found lots of people visiting or exhibiting at the Tulsa State Fair that have pondered the question, or have a theory about why we first have one state fair in Oklahoma City, then a week or so later, another in Tulsa. Rhett Gamble from Canton shows goats at both fairs. He thinks the reason has a lot to do with when crops come in.
And Oklahoma is right in the middle of wheat harvest, so some people won't be able to get to go. So Tulsa is just like an extra Oklahoma State.
Tracy McGliska believes we have two because each caters to a slightly different crowd.
The Tulsa Fair is more centered and geared around the agricultural development of the children and the different animals with the different barns. The Oklahoma City Fair is more of a commercial style. You're out to have the cars and all of the booths that you go through and the big midway, and it's more of a commercial setup as opposed to the agricultural side. Tulsa is definitely more agricultural driven.
For Yvonne Gray, it's driving distance.
Well, I wouldn't travel to Oklahoma City every year. I just couldn't do it, and I think it meets the needs of the community. In our state, we need two state fairs.
We wanted a definitive answer to the question, why two? Folks at the Tulsa State Fair said they didn't have any records to indicate why. So we headed over to the Tulsa Historical Society, where curator Ian Schwartz agreed to troll through his archives to see if he could discover the answer. What he found was Tulsa began hosting big fairs long before statehood.
Tulsans have been enjoying fairs since at least the 1890s, went through a number of locations, a number of names. It seems like Tulsa State Fair was originally Tulsa Free State Fair in the 19-teens, and then later by 1925, 1926, it was in its present location with its present name, so that's really all we know.
The first fairs took place at the corner of Admiral and Lewis. Sometime around 1905, the fair moved to Boston and Archer.
In the early days, I did learn that the main income was not made off of anything other than horse racing. Apparently there was a huge track and people would come and bet on horses and that sort of thing. And I believe in 1914, the governor actually called out the National Guard because he was so against betting at horse races. So,
put an end to that.
Of course.
In the 1920s, the fair moved to its present location at 21st and Yale, which now sits in the middle of Tulsa's Midtown. Back then it was considered the sticks. Folks worried no one would attend a fair there, since not even streetcars ventured that far out of town. But the Tulsa State Fair did pull in crowds by offering a wide variety of exhibits and entertainments.
It appears that every day had a theme: Governor's Day, Children's Day, Lindbergh Day. So apparently that was when Charles Lindbergh was a celebrity in America. This is a copy of the program for the 27th State Fair.
What were some of the highlights?
Auto races, band concerts, vaudeville acts.
Concerts are still part of the Tulsa State Fair, but the vaudeville acts gave way to midway sideshows.
I did learn that in the mid-'60s, apparently, because of community or public outcry, they did away with girly shows at the fair.
Then there was the year without a Tulsa State Fair.
In 1934, there was no fair because the fair board for the Tulsa State Fair could not decide whether or not to charge admission, so they just didn't have a fair.
This is Jacoby Allen of Woodward's first time to exhibit at any state fair.
I thought it'd be fun, so gave it a try for this year.
Others, like the Gambles of Canton, exhibit at both state fairs. It's a tradition going back generations.
Let's see, I've been showing since I was 12 years old, so I'm now 38, so you guys do the math. And That's how long I've been coming. I got my boys showing now.
This year he brought his boys and one of their friends to show a pig and the goats they raised. The goats belong to Rhett. He's feeding them because they can still stand to put on a touch of weight before the judging begins. Plumper goats in nearby pens protest loudly. That's because they're masked to keep them from eating any more before judging time. In the next barn over, Rhett's friend Kyle settles his pig Bo into its fair stall.
He's a show pig.
What's a show pig for those of us from the city?
It's a pig that you go out and show when a judge judges you.
Having your animals, handicrafts, arts, and cooking judged is still part of the core of a state fair. But these days, fewer people enter handicrafts, and especially kitchen crafts, like pies, cakes, jams, jellies, and pickled vegetables.
A lot of people, they remember back years ago when they came, there were more things that were available to be looked at, and not as many people are able to grow their own food now. We have more people living in town, and they miss that, and they like the idea of bringing that back.
If you're wondering if Oklahoma is the only state with more than one state fair, the answer is absolutely not. Check out this map. Alabama, Arizona, Georgia, Idaho, Illinois, and New Jersey also have two, while Alaska, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Louisiana, Michigan, and Wisconsin each have 3. Texas and Washington State boast 4. As it turns out, their reasons for multiple state fairs are pretty similar to ours. It's a matter of when the fair is held, what attractions and exhibits are offered, and making visiting or participating in the fair accessible to as many people as possible.